Hello there and a very good afternoon. You're with Lunchtime News. I am Dasuniata with the News First, and let's start off with a look at this afternoon's headlines. Water gauge in the Kalani River hits 7.5 feet after 25 years. Aerial aid provided for displaced persons. Rescue operations underway for those trapped due to floods. Heavy showers continue in most parts of the island. Now moving on to the local stories, the Department of Meteorology says that even though rainfall in the island reduced to a certain extent yesterday, rains could be expected in the southwestern areas of the island. Issuing a communique, the department added that the depression of the Bay of Bengal has intensified into a deep depression and now located about 500 kilometers north of Kankasanture. It is further moving away from the island. Here's duty meteorologist with the weather forecast of the day. You can now donate dry rations for the Sirasa Shakti John Keel Sahana Yatra, which is now in effect, to provide immediate relief to the people affected by the natural disasters. Now more on this story in the course of the bulletin. Now back onto one of our local stories. The reading on the water gauge of the Kalani River in Nagligamavithya has risen up to 7.5 feet, the first time in 25 years. The reading on the water gauge of the Kalani River read at 7.3 feet this morning. Meanwhile, efforts were underway today as well to rescue those in flood and landslide-ridden areas across the country triggered by the heavy downpours. Search operations commenced this morning as well to locate those missing in the landslides which occurred in Aranayaka and Bulat-Kahupitia areas. Commander of the Security Forces West Major General Siddhanta Ranasinghe has said that while 66 houses have been destroyed by the landslide, 14 bodies were recovered during operations, out of which 8 have been identified. Meanwhile, the bodies of 5 persons who went missing in the Bulat-Kahupitia landslide in the Kalupahanawatha area were found yesterday. Our correspondent said that other bodies were found this morning. The police OIC of Bulat-Kahupitia said that operations are underway to locate 10 more persons. Locals residing not far from the site, the landslide, have been advised to evacuate. According to our correspondent, around 28 families reside in this area. Meanwhile, several homes in the Mabima and Pathavila areas on the Colombo-Begum Road are flooded owing to the Kalani River overflowing. Our correspondent said that the water levels are continuing to rise. Meanwhile, reports have emerged that the Jayala Canal in the Jayala town is at the risk of breaking its banks. Locals say that this is the first time the canal is facing such a threat. If the canal breaks its banks, more than 500 families are at the risk of being displaced. Meanwhile, Gampaha District Secretary Sunil Jayala says that several areas in the district are receiving a high rainfall. He added that all rivers flowing across the Gampaha district have now begun overflowing. District Secretary Sunil Jailas added that the Attanagalu Oya, Kalani River, Ma Oya and all surrounding sub-rivers have overflowed. Around 118,000 people of 18,000 families are affected by floods. Meanwhile, relief aid was distributed via 2 Sri Lanka Air Force aircrafts to those affected by the weather. Air Force spokesperson Group Captain Chandima Alvis said that the 2 aircrafts were deployed at 6 and 8 this morning. Group Captain Alvis added that an aerial inspection was conducted in several disaster-hit areas, including Kalaniya and Biagama. Meanwhile, Army Media spokesperson Brigadier Jainath Jayavira said that the Sri Lanka Army has rescued 20,000 people affected by the weather. 6,300 flood-affected people have been rescued by operations of the Sri Lanka Navy. You can now donate dry rations for the Sirsa Shakti John Keel's Sahana Yatra, which is now in effect, to provide immediate relief to the people affected by the natural disasters.
Shakti Sahana Yatra has now been launched for the last 24 hours to collect items to those affected by the inclement weather conditions. There are over 350,000 individuals who have been displaced owing to the bad weather. We began this operation in mind that we need to assist those who have been affected by the floods. This is not the first time in which we've launched the Shakti Sahana Yatra. We've launched such operations in the past as well. We saw this happening during the tsunami, the last 2 droughts that took place in Sri Lanka, the floods. We have come to the rescue of the people. Now, what we need right now is the assistance of the public. All these campaigns that we've launched over the last 3 years have been successful because of the contributions that have been made by the general public. There are many individuals coming in with 1 kilo of rice, 2 kilos of rice, whatever they can bring in to assist those people who have been affected by floods. This is an earnest appeal for those who are listening to us. You can bring in rice, dal, canned fish, water bottles, instant noodles, tea leaves, milk powder, anything you want to bring. You just have to stop it by number 330 TB Jayamavata, Colombo 10. Let me highlight the address once again. It's number 330 TB Jayamavata, Colombo 10. This is the time that the people need your assistance. 350,000 people, as I said before, have been displaced by the inclement weather. They need your assistance. They need your call for service. Shamir Rasulin, reporting for Newsfirst from number 330 TB Jayamavata, Colombo 10, Collection Center for the Sirsa Shakti John Keel's Sahana Yatra.
Now, once again, we would like to remind you that you can make your donations for the Sirsa Shakti John Keel's Sahana Yatra at the collection centre set up at number 330 TB Jayamavata in Colombo 10. The relief items can also be handed over to the convoys carrying the sacred relics of the Sirsa John Keel's Vesak Son. Donations can be handed over to the collection centre set up at TB Jayamavata till 12 midnight tonight. The items are milk powder, rice, dal, sugar, tea leaves, instant noodles and biscuits. Such a large-scale initiative also requires transportation facilities, and as such, owners of cargo vehicles such as lorries and trucks are encouraged to call us on 011 4896 896 to volunteer their services. Meanwhile, the procession carrying the sacred hair and bone relics of the relics of Arhants from Kandy will leave the Ranvala Puran Viharaya today. The convoy carrying the sacred relics will travel via Galgamur, Vargapola, Pasialaya and Nitambur and is expected to arrive at the Jinendra Rama Viharasthanya today. And that's a wrap of lunchtime news for the day. Join us again today at 1:30 for more of the very latest.